Hello, mate.
Hey brother, how are ya?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, I can hear you all right.
Hey brother, how are ya?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, bro,
Yeah, all
perfect,
good. You
perfect.
okay?
Yeah, I'm good, my man. I'm good. Thank you, bro. Thanks for this little chat.
Yeah,
I guess
thanks
you'll
for
you'll.
yeah, thanks for
I,
having me. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy man, so I'm glad that you've got some time to talk to me. Um, so today we're just going to go through just like obviously me and you working together last couple of weeks, maybe last 8 weeks now.
yes,
Um,
brother. Yes.
yeah, so we started off um, with the goal of going into this comp 8 weeks ago with qualifying for nationals.
Yeah.
With that, I started off when I was training in the barn in lockdown. If you remember,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
bro.
in the ghetto. So
That's the one, man. That's where you get strong. That's where champions are made.
yeah, it was. No, it was good. And then we obviously went into the gym and we were moving forward with that. We obviously started working with a lot of like new techniques that I've never heard of coming from a strength and conditioning background. We did stuff that I've never heard of before, and it was just like absolutely game changing for me. Like with the stuff like with the deadlift, I won't go into too much details, but you know when we started doing that, looking up in the top portion of the lift, locking out the deadlift,
Yes.
I felt
Yes.
like
Yes.
that is such a massive game changer for me.
Well,
Right?
well, the funny thing is, whatever I've taught you so far has been taught to me from someone else. The thing is, the difference is a lot of the time, if someone gives me something and I haven't tried it for long enough and it didn't work successfully, I wouldn't be able to sort of give you that information and be confident about it. So actually, just with that head up and pulling it back with the deadlift, I was actually taught that by one of the greatest powerlifting families of all time, actually, where I think the dad, which is Ernie Lillibridge Sr., the younger son, which is Eric Lillibridge, and then there's Ernie Lillibridge Jr. They all, at a certain time, had all-time world record in their respective weight classes. And he actually taught me that. And pretty much, give or take, 90% of the stuff that I do comes from or originates from the way that they do things. And you will find that it's actually very popular in the powerlifting scene, that these things that they actually talk about are very commonly known and are done by a lot of top lifters. And, you ask them and they will say pretty much the same thing as me. I shouldn't have anything to say with regards to these guys because they're on a completely different level. But it's all simple stuff. When you get trained or when you work with somebody like these guys or along those likes,
Yeah,
they're so simple in their approach that when they're training you, the stuff that they're telling you, it's like if you were paying them big money, you would sort of think that you weren't getting the most out of your money. It takes a very special type of person to actually understand the value of simplicity and how much further that can help transition your training. Because I'll tell you something funny. A lot of the time, we're both personal trainers, and when we tell some people simple advice, they sort of like, is that it? Like, I'm paying you big bucks.
yeah,
I need you
yeah,
to
yeah,
give
yeah.
me a seminar. But it's like, if you just, let's work at one cue at a time and let's focus for that specific cue over a period of months, not weeks, months. Once you've mastered that, that particular cue that they've given you, usually 99% of the time, changes the whole dynamic of the lift. It's getting you to do things without even knowing. And, you know, for me, the biggest thing in this is just simplicity, man, you know?
Yeah. I like the analogy when we first started working together, and I first did that first Skype call with you. You said, oh, it's like having a concrete block and having a butter knife. You scratch it once, it might not make nothing. It might not make much damage. Do that over time, and you're gonna have that. You're gonna have a hole and an impact into your training and into your technique. And I just thought that is such a good analogy to fucking like have that. Just think that you've got to constantly be working away at it to be getting that progression from week to week to week, even though it might be the same cues. It's like you just got to ingrain it in you within that time. And I just thought, oh man, that's so right. Like every time I get on a like FaceTime with you or do that weekly FaceTime, I think, God, it's absolute game changing. Like everything you say is like, it's absolutely mad, because it's just, I just think it's simple, but yeah, it's so like effective that you just keep working on this. Like you don't over indulge in so much information that you like blows your mind. You can't think of anything because you're thinking too much. It's just like simple cues each week that just absolutely like it is game changing, because all I'm thinking about when I'm going into training is them cues that you've given me and just working on it. And I just think it's simple, yet it's really good. Like I can't. This last couple of weeks, I think it's 8 weeks now. So it's just been absolutely. I think I've learned so much in those last 8 weeks than I have in God knows how long. Like it's been, yeah. I can't thank you enough for doing what you do each week with me.
Well, the thing is, brother, it's not me that's come up with the stuff. It's stuff that everybody knows, that goes around, that's circulated throughout the industry, throughout the powerlifting scene, weightlifting scene, bodybuilding scene. There's techniques that are there and in place that all of those sort of systems use. And they're just simple things. I've actually given programs out before, and I've had people say, no, it's all good. I don't think I'm going to train with you. It's too simple, from a money sort of a perspective. But there's also another perspective is for certain clientele, you need to keep things a little bit more interesting, and sort of be able to change your style geared towards them to keep them interested in the actual training and in the actual training program. And that's also one thing that I have sort of noticed is that maybe not the best training program is going to get you the best results, but rather the program that is more interesting for them. Do you know what I mean? So it's there's a lot of controversy in the whole thing, but I've had the opportunities to talk to a lot of strong world-class athletes, and when I'm getting information off of them, it's very, 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 very simple sort of information. And I think not everybody's like that, which is fine. But
it's just different. It's like, well, because I come from a strength and conditioning background, maybe like you get into this habit of like going into it so much and going into these fine details and trying to find tiny little points, or going into it so in depth that you forget to maybe just overlook, just the basics, doing the basics well. And I think it's true that you only need simple cues each week, just done effectively. That it's game changing for me.
Yes, brother, please carry on. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. With your background going into power, when I was talking to you last week, you said you started off doing rowing, which I was confused about because I wasn't expecting you to be a rower. I was thinking you were maybe like a rugby player. I don't know, started off doing MMA or something like that. I didn't think that. I don't know. I didn't label you as a rower. With that, how did you get in from rowing to weightlifting and powerlifting? How did you?
Well, pretty much to sum it all up, you know, the school that I went to was all about making a top tier team, and I never ever made a top tier team. So I kept on trying to find what I can actually do. Ended up being pretty average at rowing, and you know, I sort of made it to the South African squad trials. Simply wasn't fast enough or strong enough, so I got dropped. And the actual school training program and our training program and the way that we've actually always just trained. You go into the gym and you lift weights and you lift them with good technique and you lift them fast and you lift them aggressive. It may not make you a better rower. It's definitely not going to make you any worse, but it definitely had a lot of carryover. Right. So I was in year 12 in the school that I was at the time, had a actual gym that we could go and use. And it just so happened to be that one of South Africa's greatest powerlifters of all time, Rodney Anthony, who had a 400 kilogram squat in a suit, was the head coach there. And the head weightlifting coach was Steve Frank, who had weightlifted since the age of 6 in Cameroon and studied weightlifting in France, who was at a later stage a training partner of Valencia's The Buyer, who won an Olympic silver medal at the 2012 games, sorry. So, you know, going into those sort of gyms, being around that, the only thing sort of always known was do your weightlifting first with Steve and then go to Rodney and do your powerlifting. And that's how the school gyms work. So you've seen that I always say, well, it's actually my brand. I didn't invent it. I've just given it a different name. For general strength training is all round strong, which is Olympic weightlifting movements and powerlifting. So basically that's how we've always trained. Came to Australia, managed just by luck to the first gym I walked into, basically rubbed shoulders with Australian strength coach and started training with him. Worked at his gym as the head strength coach, which was the greatest opportunity of a lifetime with regards to just being around people that are super, super, super strong and enthusiastic about what they do. So, and actually the way that we trained at base gym was the same as before. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no secret ingredient. We'll do our weightlifting first, and then we'll finish off with powerlifting movements. You know what I mean? Others so well.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about getting the most out of your weightlifting, you're going to have to specify. But a lot of the time, from my experience, one of the biggest, and I'm far from perfect, let me tell you that. But through my experience, one of the biggest problems with weightlifters trying to make it into a national podium and stuff like that, especially in countries like Australia where drug use is prohibited. Right. Basically, they lack, because they're only focusing on weightlifting, they lack absolute strength and they peak and they cannot break past it due to injuries, and they just cannot produce enough force through the barbell by training clean and jerk and snatch all the time. Now, just to sort of elaborate on that just a little bit, or, you know, I'll just try and cut it short, is that people sort of get mistaken with, you're powerlifting, you're weightlifting, you're this, you're that. But when it comes to sort of any movement in a gym, if you can perform that movement with good technique and a decent amount of intensity, it's going to carry over to whatever training you're doing or whatever your sport is. Now, just to cut this short and finish it, I get a lot of people that come to me and they ask if I'm a specific trainer for weightlifters or powerlifters, or, can a rugby player come and train? Or, and it's like, look, I'm not a rugby coach, I'm not a boxing coach, but what I can tell you is that I can try my very best to make you as strong as possible, as safely as possible, and I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to make you any worse at your sport, okay, right, provided you have the correct recovery and program design around your sport. But there's many methods out there, okay? There's people that specialize in training athletes with certain exercises that are more specific towards their sport, and they're great, man. Those coaches are really good at what they do. For me, my biggest attribute as a coach towards these sort of athletes is more along the line is if they walk into the gym with their eyes slightly down, shoulders rolled forward, every time we train, they need to leave bouncing off the fucking walls, chest up, eyes up, ready to smash anything in front of them. And that's when mindset comes into play. But I could go on that for a very, very long time. But one of the greatest things about having good strength attributes is what it actually does for your confidence. Yes, it may not make you better at your sport, but it's going to make you confident. It's going to increase your self-belief, your self-moral is going to be a lot higher. But those sort of things I could go on, brother. I'll just
do you think do you think with the weightlifting you said a minute ago, you said about how powerlifting and how they struggle to get over their numbers because they lack overall strength? Do you think that's a common problem with, because I read the Louis Simmons book about weightlifting, and he says a similar thing about how people struggled with general strength when it comes to weightlifting. Do you think that is something that needs to be ingrained in them from a youth development, like from a younger age, doing that thing that you've done in the past where you did a combination of powerlifting and weightlifting? Do you think that is something for the future generations, maybe like Australia or South Africa or whatever, is that something that needs to be from a younger age, or what? What do you think?
Well, look at all the top countries before they start their cycles, and they have GPP. Now, that term found in all circles of the personal training, fitness industry, strength, whatever it may be. And it's been done for years. It's been done for years and years and years and years. It's nothing new. It's just, do you know what I mean? I think that everybody's sort of got their own view on it, but I will give you an example, veering off the actual topic of training for absolute power. With weightlifting, it's very easy to get stale. And there have been times when I've actually been forced to stop weightlifting due to severe pain, where I absolutely have no choice than to go and grab the sled and train with some of the boys that are training for fights and do sled pushes with them. And, just general general
physical preparedness.
Sort of training and having 2 or 3 months off of weightlifting and building one hell of a work base and coming back and absolutely feeling revived, refreshed, glad to see the barbell. But now a problem with this is what a lot of people, don't understand, and I'm far from perfect. I've seen it before. They lack, and so do I, their weightlifting skill isn't at the best that it could possibly be for them to sort of take time off away from the movements. Right. Okay? But they would prescribe a lot of and this is, I don't really want to get too much into this because we're doing a live and stuff like that. But, if someone has some sort of an aggravated injury or a niggle, a lot of the times people are steered away from doing their sport, example, weightlifting, and focusing solely on structural balance, which is great. But then the problem is because they don't understand their technique to lift with the most amount of force and power throughout the actual movement. The problem is they've done all this stuff and their bodies are working and it's moving well, but they usually jump back on the bar, and these sort of niggles and injuries start because when they're performing the movement, they're not performing it correctly, or they're not doing it a way that is providing the least amount of stress on their joints. And this is why I come and try to say that being good at your sport, example, clean and jerk and snatch, and being able to move pain-free has been one of the biggest attributes of being able to train throughout massive training cycles and keep on improving on my numbers.
Right.
So it's like the only advice that I can sort of give anybody is if you have a sport, you need to keep on practicing your skill. So if you're going to be getting strong after, i.e. GPP, powerlifting, ball throws, like just power things, make sure you practice your sport first and you're good at your sport, because those accessory exercises will actually carry over so much more like that. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. So keep your specific skills for your sport consistent within your training cycle. So if you did rugby, keep your rugby training in, keep your skill-based training in, and then on top, do your strength work on top, power sports, stuff like that. With so now you've just competed in a powerlifting competition with maybe a couple of weeks back now. You are now back into the nationals in Australia. How at the moment with your training?
Man, everything's going well, touch wood. I'm just, brother, honestly, I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to even have the chance to walk and step onto a platform every day. It's just, for me, it's big. It's always something I've always done, and it's like medication as it is to many out there. But just actually having the opportunity to go and compete has just sort of revived my whole demeanor in the actual weight room. So yes, state championships was good, brother. There was only 2 people in my weight class, so I can't really tell you that I came first, but I managed to scrape a gold medal. But Australia is one of the, arguably the top lifters in Australia, stand with the best amongst the world, and there's many powerlifting world champions that have originated from Australia and train here. So I'll be going to the national championships, and I'll be giving it a crack. But I'll just give you an example. I squatted 322.5 kilos. The best in the country is squatting 380, and Mr. 390 squat. So that is, they basically just hit me off the bus. Get out, mate. I'm still doing everything I can to be the best that I possibly be. And I'm grateful actually for the learning experience that when I'm able to share a platform with these guys, I know that maybe this year I may not win, but what I would have learned would be far greater for my years of training ahead. So I'm just grateful for the sort of whole opportunity, to be able to be healthy, body is working, there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm doing what I love. So that's it, man.
Enjoy your training. That's it. With your weightlifting, is it something you're going to do, like a powerlifting for so long? Is there a number that you want to get before you go back to your weightlifting cycles, or what are you thinking?
So, long story short, sob story.
Yeah.
The way that I trained to get the numbers that I physically got, I personally believe made me sick and very ill. Not many, like, you know, it sounds very cliche and it's badass. And if I could have gone back in time, I wouldn't have changed anything. But for some of those that have trained with me and we've trained together with the same intensity, sort of knows the amount of stress and that it puts on your body and your brain. And to get the numbers, you know, that I would need to do, or the numbers that I want to do, which would be like a 190 snatch plus and a 230 clean and jerk, around there, train like that. And this is just an excuse, by yourself in a garage with absolutely no one watching you, no one handling you. You just look at all the best lifters around the world, weightlifting wise, and they've got systems in place. Okay, it's a full-time job. All they're doing is sleeping. They've got coaches on them 24/7 monitoring everything from bloods to health to training volume to everything. You know, I had a great coach, you know, and if it wasn't for him, I would have never come close to lifting what I had. But he cannot be there 24/7 the same way as these guys have physios, massages every day. Everything is geared towards them, around them, to help them healthily actually achieve these, manage their stress levels. Just, they've got a whole system, and it's like, I don't want to sound soft or anything like that, brother, but, you know, yeah, I'll have a crack. Yeah, I will have another crack any day or any time of the week. If you put a weight on the bar right now and tell me to snatch it, I'll go hard. But I know that the time and effort put into it, if I'm not going to be able to do it properly or get the opportunity to go train overseas in a country like Russia or something like that, I'm not really ready to sort of have another crack just yet. But the funny thing is that this powerlifting training that I'm doing now is increasing my absolute strength. You know, the other day I hadn't done a clean in 3 months, and I got underneath 200 kilogram clean and stood it halfway up, where my max when I'm training usually like a daily minimum would be that. And it's like I haven't even touched the barbell. So we will see. We will see. But I'm really enjoying the powerlifting style training at the moment. But you know, it's,
do you think with Australia, if they ever wanted to push to be like more world class at weightlifting?
You can't. There's a few world class weightlifters. The ones that have ever won medals were bought from other countries, and purely they don't have enough money. It's a drug-free sport in Australia, and there's not enough money for it to be able to get the chance to win medals. And I'll just sort of leave it at that.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Cool. With your training, you moved from like a space gym, and then you moved to your garage gym. How did you how do you find moving from a team to training by yourself in your garage? How do you find that?
Man, I love training by myself. You know, going for a max squat, no spot. You know, my wife's usually standing there, and half the time she forgets to bloody press the record button. But you know, she doesn't take it seriously at all. And it's good because it's like, it just I don't know, bro. I just love, you know, I can train in any environment. You know, a lot of the time, if I know I'm going to a gym and I've just trained by myself, when I'm going to an event, you know, or whatever you call it, just get so much more out of that instead of actually training in those situations with people around all the time. So yeah, I mean, look, when I snatched 170 kilos for the first time, my coach was in the corner doing bloody bicep curls. Where I sort of get off on that. Like, my whole mentality sort of changed to just I don't need 500 people to stop and look at me while I lift. Like, I just love just being able to just lift in my garage and, you know, zero ego, leave it at the door. Not like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm just saying for myself in the situation that I am in, always going, and then there's people there, and it's just sort of not a distraction, but, you know, a lot of the time I just prefer to just, you know, me, my wife, and my son, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, when I talk to you,
go, brother.
When we talk once a week, we always talk about professionalism, about how even though you're training in your garage, you still pack your bag, you pull the threads out of your wrist wraps, you brush, you clean your shoes, you're at it, you're still keeping that professionalism even though your gym is in your garage. And I think that's something that in my head I thought, God, that's crazy. He's still acting so professional even though he's training in his garage. He could leave all his stuff in his garage, yet but he packs his bag like it's his job. You still you keep that professionalism even though your gym's downstairs. With that, do you think that mentality improves your training sessions when you keep that professionalism?
Well, put it this way. I'm a plumber and I've got my tools. My tools are everywhere in my bag. They're full of mud. I don't know what tools I've got. I get to the job site. I don't even know what's in my bag. I open it up. I'm like, shit, I've got to go to the store down the road and get some more tools. But if you sort of pack your bag every day, nice and fresh, neat, everything's clean, you know exactly what's in your bag. When you get to the job, it's a lot easier to do the job. You know what I mean? Because everything's sort of laid out in front of you. And that's the sort of a thing that we were actually speaking about is before you train, something called platform presentation, which I was taught by my very first weightlifting coach, is when you're training, it's a presentation. It's you know what I mean? Like the way that you hold yourself when you're sitting at a dinner table. It's the same sort of a thing when you're training. And it can, those sort of a things, just being in that general mindset, can actually benefit your training a lot more than you ever actually think it could. But at the same time, you should still be able to wake up in the middle of the night and use any bar, any gym, anywhere, wrist straps, no wrist straps. Do you know what I mean? So there's two sides to the approach. You need to be able to do both. But if you have the opportunity to make your training as easy as possible, excuse me, brother, that's the basic thing that it's all about. Is, you know, I teach a lot of my boys and stuff that I train. It's like, okay, so we're training now, yeah? So it's like, okay, so it's basically the same thing as, you know, you walk into the gym, everything's packed away, everything's neat, weights are at an arm's length, it's all laid out. So when we're training, what we're doing in between sets is less taxing, which allows us to lift and save our energy for the actual thing. It's like if you're going for a kilometer up the road and you've left your knee sleeves in the car, it's like that's only going to tax you. So it's all basically just, you know, general preparation before the actual session to get through the session without wasting any energy. That's basically all it's about. And then there's sort of an aspect of, you know, working in a gym, in a commercial gym or something like that, sort of, you know, those sort of things like loading plates, tidying the area, wiping the bench, you know, clean pair of shoes, haircut, teeth are brushed, you know what I mean? Your clothes are always clean. Your bags, like when you put it down, it looks like it's not even there. That's clean. Sort of, people are sort of, you smell good. People that are paying you a lot of money are sort of attracted to it. And that's what we were actually talking about just the other day, is, you know, how you present yourself in the gym needs to be at the very best that you can possibly do. You know, even if it's just filling up your client's water bottle, not letting him move the bench, tidying the area before they train. These are all sorts of, you know, I'm not the biggest conversation maker unless I know you, but these are all sort of things that just helps you get through the session faster, and you're buzzing off that energy because you know that your client's like, frick, I'm getting the best service here, and he's loving it, you're loving it. And it's just, it carries over. It's infectious towards your energy. Your facial expressions change. It just attracts people towards you. And, you know, it all just starts from those sort of things, you know, which like I've been drilled by like almost every coach or school that I've ever had. And yeah, it's a bit, you know, it's a bit superficial, but unfortunately, like, that's sort of what it's come to. But, you know, I could still, in the middle of COVID, I was training. That was my sole focus. I had holes in the front of my pants, in the back of my pants, holes in my, like, you know what I mean? Just from, it was like, that's just how we used to train, and we didn't worry about any of that. We're just worrying about lifting the bloody weight. But when you talk about a money perspective and stuff like that, a lot of the time, people that are following you or look at your page, they're looking at the weight. They understand it's a big weight, but they're also looking at other stuff too. You know what I mean? When it comes to a money-making perspective, you know, you look at my boy Sonny Webster. That guy's clean cut, the most personable person you've ever met. Always dressed well. He's very humble, and you know, not only have I gone to the Olympics and studying weightlifting at university. You know, people are attracted to him because he's done all of those things right, you know, and it just goes to show that, you know, what people can actually achieve just by doing all the small things well. So, yeah, man.
I think even though you say about, you know, dressing smart, even though you've got like holes and stuff in your shorts, I think when you talk to me about the kid that you train for free, that you train is something about, I think, so it's something very humble about that you're willing to put in the time and effort into someone that you believe that is able to achieve something, hit a high number, and be able to, you know, get a good training score for yourself, and you want to work with them, and you're willing to do that for free, is something that is humble within itself. And that I think you can go either way with that you can act really professional, or you can be, you know, dress a little bit down and but let your results talk for themselves. Do you think training this kid, do you think it's something that you think is quite, is quite motivating for yourself to be around people that are wanting to train as well? So training these people for free, do you think having the right people around you will have an impact that will push you forward as well, being someone that, you know, this kid might be hungry to get big numbers?
So are you talking about my little brother Ali?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah. So he's man, where do I even start? He is like, you know, as silly as it sounds, he's probably like one of my best friends. He's just man, the thing is with him, he's got so much potential, and it's very unfortunate that I live so far away. It's something I've always actually wanted in my life, was to be able to train someone from that age every single day. Now, you know, it can go either way. Yes, it's having a positive impact in his life, and I'm trying to be a good role model towards him. That's, you know, just that is good enough in itself. But when it comes to, you know, reaching a high level of sport, I'm still very new to that, taking somebody from start. So he comes in and we train 3 times a week, and, you know, there's no rules or anything. It's sort of just, boy, come in and, you know, I said to him, I go, there's only one rule in this gym. Yeah, he goes, He goes, what's that? I'll go, is that you need to have fun. And I go, if you break the rule and you're not having fun, you know what I mean? Don't break the rule. And he's like, yeah. And he comes in and like, I don't tell him to do anything. He just, he just comes in and starts loading plates or tidying up the gym and training. So he's very good in that aspect. And I haven't actually even needed to tell him that. He's just sort of figured it out on himself. But, man, it would be a dream come true to get him to be able to do huge numbers. The only thing is I can't push him. I can't push him. He can't rock up to training and sigh, and I have to, you know what I mean? It needs to be something that he wants to do, and I'm trying to instill that in him. But if we do have the opportunity to sort of start training a little bit more regularly, it's going to be good. And to be honest with you, the only reason why I'm sort of doing this is because I remember when I was once a young kid, how amazing it was when I had a coach that like digged me, that was like all for me. He's like, you know what I mean? Like he's on my team, like my guy. And that feeling, just that, is life changing. And, you sort of feel like you can take on the world, and, just giving somebody else that sort of opportunities, just sort of heartwarming, and it's always a good experience. But man, we got to get him out there. But there's no guarantees in life. But potential wise, he's got a lot of potential. So yeah, there it is.
Well, well, good luck to him anyway. He's he's got to enjoy it, like you said.
Keep tracking his progress.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it.
Man, but you look at some of these kids, like, my first ever weightlifting coach single-handedly trained a guy, Gordon Shaw, the strongest weightlifter in South African history, who was like 55 kilos in year 8, on a broomstick for 6 months, and 7 or 8 years later to 175 kilogram snatch.
Yeah.
Now, with the resources and stuff in South Africa, to get somebody to do that single-handedly, you need to be, as a coach, mad about it. That was everything to him. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I always look at that and I'm like, flip, man, that would be, as a coach, to get somebody to do that from scratch, not already strong, and just make them a little bit stronger from scratch. Always been a lifetime goal, but it's easier said than done, and the task is a lot harder than it actually seems. But yeah, we can only hope and pray.
Do you think weightlifting going forward in these, like, Australia, America, UK, stuff like that, do you think CrossFit, has popularized Olympic weightlifting in the last 10 years or so?
Big time.
Do you think going forward, do you think these smaller countries, like, they say they haven't got the money, but coming forward, do you reckon this will push it a little bit on? Do you reckon we got, or do you not reckon we're just too far behind these Russias, Chinas,
Look, well,
Eastern European countries?
All these other countries use drugs. You cannot win an Olympic gold medal unless you're using, and I hope there's not any viewers here that are, I probably shouldn't say,
right.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way that it is. And Australia is just, there's not enough money in the sport for these sort of things to be funded. It's sad that that's how sport is, because it's actually meant to be healthy, and it's meant to be keep your youth and stuff like that. But when you talk about these sort of things, that's, I guess, you know what I mean. It's one of them things in the room,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
But in Russia and those countries, it's the same as it's very normal to them. To them, they're not sort of doing anything wrong, but that's because it's a national sport. Weightlifting isn't a national sport in Australia. So those sort of things, when you're looking at your top rugby players and stuff like that, wouldn't be as scarce.
Right. Do you think, when they have this, in like China and Russia and stuff, they like, they do this, like youth development, like they take people, like children, quite from a young age. Do you think that wouldn't have an impact, or we're just too far behind, like you said?
What if Australia had to
picked them up from a younger age, maybe possibly have an impact?
Well, let me tell you, man, I don't know who's going to be watching this, but I'm already in so much trouble with the Australian Weightlifting Federation. It probably doesn't even matter, but I'll conduct myself as professionally as possible.
Yeah.
The best weightlifters in Australia, strongest weightlifters, I'm talking about people that have come from other countries. You got Stefan Botev from Bulgaria, Olympic champion, trained by Ivan Arbajev, living in this country. What does he have to do with the weightlifting in this country? Absolutely nothing. And there's a few other names as well. And it's like, in Russia, you need to be a master of sport in order to be able to study to become a weightlifting coach. Right. So you need to have achieved and played your sport at a very high level in order to be eligible to then study and then coach. Right. And unless, you don't need to lift 1 million kilos to be a good coach. But to me, it's sort of no surprise that in these countries, predominantly, a high percentage of the coaches, you look at Russia, one of the greatest weightlifting coaches of all time, David Riggett, Olympic champion, world champion. It's, I think, that sort of speaks itself, but obviously due to money, first of all, and, I don't know what happens in the federation or anything like that in particular throughout the board and everything like that, but everybody has their spot and nobody wants to let go. I don't know if the government is solely involved in finding and tracking down the sort of, Stefan Botev and all of these guys that have done ridiculous things weightlifting-wise, in Australia and around the world to get them to run the show. If you had all of these guys, even my coach's dad, Andrew Ciantro, played sports at the Olympic Games and won 2 Commonwealth Games gold medals. They actually bought the Australian Institute of Sport because his dad boycotted the Olympics and complained about the training facilities. But all of these people from around that time and those circles, they are still in this country, but unfortunately have nothing to do, with the federation and on the board and stuff like that. But there are some great, there's a kid, I'm not going to say anything, 81 kilos, 205, hand clean. That's 1 kilogram of the world record. So there are some ridiculous lifters. It's not any other reason. It's not I don't want to get into this whole coaching thing and everything like that because I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning. I shouldn't have the right to say these things. But we don't have the same systems. We don't have the same training systems. If we had the same training systems as these guys overseas, I personally believe it doesn't matter what country you come from, where you're born, what genetic trait you have. I believe that not anybody can do it, like as in win a gold medal. Like not anybody's going to snatch 220. But I'm talking that can become at a high percentage in the world. It takes a lot of hard work and effort and training hard and pushing yourself throughout the sessions. But I mean, you don't have to be genetically gifted to do that.
Right.
And I think a lot of people sort of look at these people overseas and go, wow, he was born out the womb and bam, he could do this. Like he had the right training system. That was the only thing he knew.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
you had the environment in place, you had the training system in place, you had the right coaches in place. You reckon if you implemented that, say, like in Australia or UK,
100%,
you reckon they would be up there?
100%. 100%. But it's very easy, you know, talk is cheap, but we haven't even had the chance to sort of do that, which is
like trial
something we've never.
yeah.
But I mean, you look at the powerlifters in Australia, Great Britain, and stuff. They're all world class. How many world champions and stuff there are? Do you know what I mean? So it's
Right,
like,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
So
So
you reckon you
know,
based off powerlifting and say like I don't know strongman and stuff like that, you reckon if the right systems were in place, we could see potentially see a gold medal for someone in Australia or someone like that in the Olympics, possibly.
yeah. If they waived everything, like you would have more of a chance.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
you're not going to be competing against people that are not drug tested and beat them. You know, that's pretty much what it comes down to at the end of the day. But that's only a small part of it. The system is the bigger part of it, where you know the facilities and stuff like that, coaches come into play. So
cool.
yeah, brother.
Cool. Well, that's all the time what I've got for today. I want to just thank you so much for doing this Instagram live with me and spending the time that you have. I know you're a really busy guy with, you know, training and personal training and online personal training. I have to say, I recommend you so much to anyone who's looking for a coach. Definitely hit him up. He's out of this world. You know, it's
Thank
honestly
you,
a game. It's honestly, you're a game changer. You honestly, I can't, like, this last 8 weeks have been just crazy for me. So I can't thank you enough. Yeah, thank you for coming on. And yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your humility, my man. And thanks for having me on, bro. And I guess I'll speak to you soon. Keep training hard to anybody that's watching this. Train hard, give it all you've got. Never give up. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Nice one, mate. All right.
All right.
See you later.
Brother. I'll catch you soon. Thanks, my man. Take care.
Bye. Cheers. Bye.